Hello, lovely people. Welcome to Vibe Fashion's YouTube channel. My name is Eunice. Thank you for clicking on this video. In this video, we'll be learning how to make this beautiful inbuilt corset gown you see right here on the mannequin. In my previous video, I showed us how to draft and cut this gown. So if you haven't seen the video on how to draft and cut it, I already dropped the link in the description box and also in the comment section. So do well to click on the link in order to watch the video. So like I already said that this is the sewing video. So before we get right into the video, if you haven't subscribed to my channel, please click on the subscribe button to subscribe and ensure to put on your notification bell so you get a notification every time I upload a new video. And also ensure to share this video, like this video, leave a comment, ask your questions if you have any. Thank you, and let's get right into the video. These are all the pieces we're going to be working with in this video. Like I earlier said, that my previous video is on the drafting and cutting of this corset. So this is the sewing video. So if you haven't seen the video on how to draft and cut this corset, I already dropped the link in the description box and also in the comment section. So do well to click on the link to watch so that you can understand how we came about all these pieces we have here. This is a three-part corset we are making. This is the upper part. This is number one. This is number two, and this is number three. You can see I added my sewing allowances round. The same thing was done here, even on the front piece. This is our front piece, and this is our back piece. You can see I also added my sewing allowance round. This is our back yoke. I added my sewing allowance round too. So here I have the front yoke. This yoke extends all the way down to the waistline. So this yoke will cover the cup area. And you can see it has this slant here. So if you watch the video, you will actually understand why we have this yoke or how we created this yoke like this. And here we have the down part, which is the skirt part. It's a pencil skirt. I also showed us how to draft and cut this pencil skirt. So here is the front piece. And on the front piece, we have this side drape. Can you see? These beautiful drapes we have here. I also showed us in detail how to create this drape in my previous video. So please do well to watch. Here is also the back piece. And this is what we have. My lining is 2 inches shorter than the main fabric. So I haven't shown us the materials or our pieces that we're stitching together. So let's get to the sewing machine so that we can start stitching. So this is our front piece. This is the brocade, which is the main fabric. I'll keep this aside first. And this is the lining. This is the right side of the lining and this is the wrong side of the lining. As you can see, I've drawn lines where I'll be stitching my bonings. I'm going to have one boning here at the center front. I'll have one here, and then one here. You want to make sure that the spacing you created is the same. That is even both on the left and the right. So from the center front here, I measured 2.5 inches to the cup area. And then I marked one line here. And then I measured another one, 2 inches to that away from the second one. And then here at the side here, I came in by 1.5 inches and I marked the last line. So I did the same thing here. You want to also make sure that you take the measurement you have here at the down part. Here at the down part, I have 2 inches here. So I did the same thing on this side, 2 inches. So I just slanted it. So I measured 2.5 here, and then I slanted it to 2 inches here. I did the same thing by measuring 2 inches here, and I measured the width I have at the down part of this and made sure to place it here. I did the same thing on this one. So you don't want to just sew your bonings randomly without taking your measurement. So here, this is my Regiling boning that I'll be stitching to it. So this is an inbuilt corset. I'll be sewing my bonings to the lining. Okay, so this is the way the boning is. It has this tip, this side where you're supposed to stitch on. If you have been working with Regiling boning, you should know the parts you're going to stitch on. So at the tip here and at the tip here. So first I'm going to measure this part. I'll be starting with the center front, the boning I'm going to have at the center front. Please take note that I'm placing the boning ½ inch below the neckline. This is our neckline here. So you want to place it ½ inch because this ½ inch will be what I'll be using to turn the neckline. So I'll place it ½ inch below it. And then I will take my measurement to this point. You see? So to this point, and this is it here. So once I have this point, I will also go up ½ inch away from the hem. So my boning is starting ½ inch below the neckline and ½ inch, ending ½ inch above the neckline because this is going to be my stitching allowance that I'll be using to join it to the skirt part. So I've cut out the boning I'll be working with. You can see it came down half inch below the neckline and half inch above the neckline and above the hem here. So I'm going to make sure to place this in a way that it must be centralized. Can you see? And then I'm going to stitch on both sides of the boning. Okay, I'm through with stitching the bonings on the front piece, and this is it. I went ahead to give it a good press. This is what it looks like on the reverse side. So you want to make sure that it's as neat as possible. Make sure your stitches are neat, and this is it. So I'll set this aside so that we can treat the cup. So this is our cup. This is 1, 2, and 3. And now, this is the part I'll be joining to the down part, and this is the part facing the center front. So, and this for this the center cup and the side cup, this is it. So you can see I have arrows indicating that I'm joining them together this way, and I notched them already. So I'm going to pick this and this, and you see, making sure that the notch parts are facing each other, and then I will stitch on half inch. What we have after stitching them on half inch. You see the notch is up now. It's showing that I'm going to sew this part to the upper part. So you want to make sure that you stitch on half inch. So this seam allowance I have here, I'm going to keep it open because this is how I'm going to iron it. So I'll open it up like this, and then I'll bring in number 1, which is the upper part. So now this is number 1. I'm stitching this way. I want to make sure that you are placing it, that this center front is the one facing the center cup. This is the side cup. And see, so you want to make sure that this part and this part are on the same side so that you don't make any mistake. So now this is it. I'll place it this way. The parts I'll be joining like this, and then like this. So you can decide to do it from this side like this, so that you'll be seeing, so that I can stitch while opening my stitch. That's the seam allowance line. So I'm going to stitch on half inch also. I'll open up the seam allowance. Don't want to let them fold towards one side. I have. You see what our cup is looking like. So you can see this notch here indicates that this is the center front and this is our side front. And see how I stitched with my seam lines open. You see? And this is how this one too is going to be. So I'm going to repeat the same thing on the other cup, and then I'll take this to my ironing table and press it very well using my bust ham. So as you can see, I'm done pressing the cup, the seam lines open. For the main fabric, I pressed the seam lines open and I used my paper stay to keep it open so you can't see the seam line. Can you see? This is what I did, but I didn't do that on the lining. This is because we're going to be sewing our bonings on the lining, and this is what our cup looks like. And see, this is what it looks like on the right side. It's sitting really well. So now to cage the cup, the first thing I'm going to do is to mark half inch round the cup. This half inch is going to be the seam allowance I'll be using to join it to the corset. So I'm marking half inch round the cup. Done marking out the half inch. So this half inch is going to be the base of our boning. So the next thing I'm going to do is to bring in the regling boning and measure the amount of boning I need on this curved part. So placing it from the tip here, I'm going ahead to just take the measurement that I need. So up until this point, and this is it. So I'll go ahead and cut it out. You can just cut it out with a little excess. You can trim it out so that you don't have any shortage. So this is the boning. Now you'll notice that this part is a curve. So it's not going to be very easy sewing it around here, and you need it to curve well. So to be able to form that curve, here I have my bust ham. I'm going to iron it in a way that it will form the curve so that I can easily stitch it to the cup area. So as you can see, that is curved. So it's easier for me to sew it this way into the curve like this. Can you see? So now I'm going to start stitching it, making sure that I'm placing it on the line I marked, and then I'll start stitching. I'll be stitching on the outer part. That's now we have two sides of the boning. I'll be stitching on the outer part exactly on the half inch line I marked. Okay, so as you can see, I'm done stitching the first part of the boning, and this is what we have. And you see, it is curved well and it is sitting really well. So pressing it can actually help your boning to curve well. So the next thing I'm going to do is to sew another boning to this side. And you see, this is it, and I've cut out exactly what I need. So it's going to be stitched from this side to this side, and I'll be sewing on this half inch mark I have here. I'll be sewing exactly at the tip, at the upper part. I won't be sewing the down part yet. So I'll place the boning over this one, and then I will stitch. You see? So we're going to press this. So when we press it, we're going to have it curved like this. Remember that this is the wrong side. So by the time we turn it the way it should sit, we're going to have something like this. So the next thing I'm going to do is to bring in the boning so that we can sew in the other bonings as well. But before doing that, I'm just going to iron this so that it sits well like this. Then we'll go ahead and continue. Okay, so I've ironed it so it's curved a little. So now the next thing I'm going to do is to bring in the boning, and we're going to sew another boning. Now I'll place a boning here at this side, and I'll crisscross it to this side. Watch carefully what I'm doing. I placed it underneath the base. This is serving as our base now. I placed it underneath the base, and I'm going to crisscross it to this side now. So here is where the measurement is supposed to stop. You see, I'm making sure that it sits inside the cup, and then to this point. So this is where the measurement of the boning I need will stop. So I will cut it out, and then I'll place it under like this. I will also put it under this side. So this base is going to secure all the tips of our boning. Can you see? Just watch how it's sitting inside. You see? So this is what I have. So from this part to this part, I'm going to stitch it down now. So when stitching, make sure that you are opening the cup. Okay. And then I'll stitch the other side as well. Okay, you see? So I've stitched this side. So I'm going to place another one here also. And then, and see, it's going to crisscross and then go underneath this one. So this is the measurement. This is where it's supposed to stop. So I'll cut it out and stitch it. So I'll make sure to fix it under so it's easy to sew. So that's the essence of leaving this base. That's the essence of not stitching the second part of our boning on the, that's for the bonings on the base. Okay, so here we are. So I'm making sure that it crisscrosses nicely, and then I'm going to stitch. So I'll also place another one, and then I will crisscross it to this side like this. So I'll just measure what I need. So this is where it's supposed to end. So I'll cut it out. And see, it's coming out really beautiful. So I'm going to have one in the middle. This one in the middle is really optional. If you're okay with what you have already, that's fine. But you can see this part. Can you see this part? So I want to have one in the middle so that it pushes out this part very well, which is also important. Okay, so I'm just going to place one boning now here at the center like this, and then I'll have it like this, so it will help to push out this part. Can you see what I have? So from here to here, this is the measurement I need, so I will cut it out also. The center boning, and this is it. You can see this is what it looks like in front. So now the final thing I'm going to do is to stitch this base. Now remember, I didn't stitch the base. I left all the parts open. I left it open so that I can insert my bonings under it. So I'm going to stitch it close, stitch the other side close as well. So I'll be starting from here. So here we are. So I'll just go ahead and trim out any excess stretch I have hanging. So this is what it looks like. Can you see how beautiful it is? So exactly what I have done here is what I'll repeat on the other side of the cup. So now the next thing we're going to do is to give it a very good press. So to press it, I have my bust ham here. So first I'm going to start with this upper part. You need to form the curve. You need it to curve very well. Can you see the way I'm holding it? I'm going to press it down like this and then iron it. So you want to make sure that it's sitting in the, that's in the bust ham like this. Just fold it like this so we can press it. Can you see? This is what I have. So you can see it's curving well. It's not going to gape. So after ironing it now, the next thing I'm going to do is to bring in my hemming gum. I'm going to be fleshing this. I'm going to be adding fiber to it. So this is so that it gives that soft human body feel. Okay. So I'll place my hemming gum from here, from the point where the boning starts to this end. That's leaving out that half-inch sewing allowance. So I will do the same thing here. So I'll bring in my fiber and then I'll place it from this side to this side. You see? So I'll be trimming out the excess of the fiber. It doesn't necessarily have to, I'll just trim out this part and then I'll place it again like this and cover up this place. Can you see that almost every part is covered? And then I'll give it a good press. Make sure that you're steam pressing it. This is so that the hemming gum can stick, can help the fiber and the cup to bond together. Okay, so I haven't ironed it. So now the next thing I'm going to do is to just trim out this excess I have here, making sure that I am following the line of the boning. So after ironing the fiber, this is what I have, and I repeated the same thing on the other side. You can see that they are on the same level. You don't want to do one more than the other. You have to be very careful when you are doing this. And see how nice our cup is sitting. And this is what it looks like on the reverse side. It's coming out really beautiful. So the next thing I'm going to do is to place the main fabric over it. You want to make sure that it aligns well, that you don't want to mistakenly interchange it. Remember, I notched the center. This is the center, and you can see it's also notched on the lining. So this is how it's going to be. This is for this side, and then this one you can see I also notched this side, and it is notched on this side as well. So you don't want to mistakenly interchange them and take the side and put at the center. So this is what we have here, and see. So now I'm going to place the main fabric in front of the lining. That's right side facing right side like this, and then I will stitch on half inch. That half inch allowance I left at the upper part, I will stitch on it. This is what we have after stitching. You see? So this is what our neck, the upper part looks like. So I'll just open it up and trim out the allowance. This is so that it can relax well. So after ironing the cups, this is what we have. And see how beautiful and clean the cup is looking. So this is it. So now we're done with the cups for now. We're going to set it aside so that we can sew the main corset. So here is the front piece, the lining, and this is the fabric. The back also, here is the back lining, and this is the main fabric. Remember, I notched the center back and I notched the upper part. And see that for the back, I've also gone ahead to stitch my boning just like I did for the front, and I also stitched the boning here. So I did the same thing on this one as well. So this is it. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is to shape the lining. I'm sewing lining to lining, fabric to fabric. Everything I do on the lining, I'll repeat the same thing on the fabric. So here, I'll place them right side facing right side. Take note that you want to make sure that the notch, that's the center back. You don't mistakenly place the center back on the side back. So now that I've done that, the next thing I'm going to do is to mark my sewing allowance. I'll mark my sewing allowance. So I added an allowance of 2 inches. Like I said, when you're making a corset, you don't need so much allowance. I'll be reducing this allowance. So here, I'm just going to stitch on the sewing allowance. As you can see, so I'm going to repeat the same thing on this side. So I'll place them right side facing right side, and I'll also stitch on the sewing allowance I added. So I'm done shaping the lining, and I also did the same thing on the main fabric, and this is what we have. And see, So I'm going to reduce the sewing allowance. You don't have to have up to 2 inches sewing allowance. This is so that when you iron it, so that it can stay flat. Okay, so the essence of adding this 2 inches sewing allowance is so that in case you have any shortage, you will not have issues. But you can see that now I'm done joining it, so I don't need the excess allowance. So I'll just go ahead and trim it out a little, just reduce it so that when we iron, it can relax well. So I'll also trim out this part. So as you can see, I've ironed my seam lines open, and I did the same thing here. So now the next thing I'm going to do is to place the right side of the lining facing right side of the fabric. And then this is my back yoke. I've joined them together. I joined them together using 1/2 inch, which was the stitching allowance I added, and then I trimmed the excess out. I just reduced it. Like you can see, I've ironed it. This is what I have now. So one is serving as the lining for the other. I did the same thing on the second piece. So this is it now. So I'm going to place the yoke like this at the back. Remember, I left a space of 3/4 inch from the center back when we were drawing our yoke. So this is what we're going to do. I'll place it this way and reconfirm. So now I'm supposed to have 1 1/4 inch. I added 1/2 inch for my sewing allowance. So here is 1 1/4 inch. So this is 1/4, and then I'm going to pin the yoke here. So you can see this is what it looks like. So I'll pin it this way. Can you see? So this is what the yoke will be like, and then this is the armhole. So I'll place it this way and then place the lining over it. So when placing the lining over it, I can now take off the pin and just secure like this. You can see that I already have the yoke in between, so it will not shift. I'll also come here and place the lining over it and then take off the pin and pin it down. So this way it will not shift from where it is already. I'll remove this pin also and do the same thing. So now that I have this, you can see where it ends. It ends exactly at the cup. I don't have any excess. You want to make sure that everything is well aligned. I'm going to do the same thing here. Just exactly what I did on this side. I'll repeat it on this side, and I'll show us the next thing to do. So after pinning the other side, now this is what we're going to do. I'll be stitching on 1/2 inch here. I'll stitch from this center back to this point and stop here. Then I'm going to stitch this side, following this V shape I have here on 1/2 inch. And then I'm going to repeat the same thing here. I'll stitch on 1/2 inch. After stitching it, so let me open it up so that we can see. And you see that this is what our back looks like, and this is what, so for the front, this is what we have. Can you see? So now I'll just go ahead and notch this V shape. This is so that it comes out really well, sharp and V looking. Okay, can you see? So I'll trim out a little, just reduce my sewing allowance here. So I'll notch the center, the V shape, so that it comes out sharp. And then for the seam allowance here, I'll reduce it so that it's not bulky. And then I'll take it to my ironing table and press it so that it's well relaxed, and then I'll come back and show us the next thing to do. So after pressing it, this is what we have. You can see that the back is sitting well, and this is it. So now, it's now time for us to stitch the cup. So here is our cup. First, you must make sure that I'm making sure that I'm placing the center front on the center front area. This is the side here. So I'm going to open it up like this, and then I'll place this. And you see, this is our center front. I'm going to place it like this. And you see what I'm doing? I'm trying to make sure that the 1/2 inch seam allowance, this 1/2 inch seam allowance, make sure that it's inward like this. So you are overlapping it on it this way. So the best thing to do, which is what I'm going to do now before I proceed, I'm going to give it a press and fold it in this way. This is so that it stays secure. I'm going to press it and then come back and show us. So as you can see, I've ironed it round with 1/2 inch. That's on the lining. So I'm going to place it this way. You see my 1/2 inch sewing allowance, I'm overlapping it on it, and then I'll secure with my pin here. You see? I'll also do the same thing on this side. I'll also secure with my pin. So now that I've secured with my pin, I'm going to pin the other sides. So it's now easy for us to, you can see how the cup is already sitting inside it. So it's now easy for me to pin it. Okay? So I'm going to pin the other side. I want to make sure that it is that 1/2 inch, which is my sewing allowance, that is overlapping on. So here, see? So I'm going to pin. So you want to make sure that you are pushing in your sewing allowance. You don't want any part coming out here. This is the wrong side. Can you see? I'm making sure that I'm pushing everything inside. Okay? So I'll hold it and pin it. Can you see? So here, as you're doing it front and back, you'll be checking. If it has shifted, you remove your pin and pin it back. I'm taking my time to show us this so that you'll be able to do it correctly. You see? So just push it in like this. So this is it. Once I have it laying this way, I can just secure with my pin. I'll secure this point here from the wrong side. That's from the lining side before I'll turn it to the front. This is so that it sits well. You see? So you can see that by doing that from the back, you can see how we pushed out the cup. So, and I have it sitting well here in front. So by the time we're done, we'll now cover it up like this. So now that we have this way, I'm going to stitch from the back here. It is easier to run the stitch from the back so that it sits well. So now this is what we're going to do. And you see that I've secured all the points. So now I'll hold this point and take off my pin from the wrong side and then pin it here. It is necessary to do it from this side so that you are seeing it while pinning the main corset to the cup. Okay, so now I can now take off the pin from this side. I will hold it down. This is where the next pin is. I'll just hold it down and then I'll take off the pin and pin it here on this side because I'll be sewing it from this side so that I'm seeing what I'm doing clearly. So I'm securing with my pin, you see? So I'll do that for all the points I pinned. I will hold it also as well here. Then I'll take it and pin it on the right side now. That's on the lining side here. Okay, so here I'll take out this one and then I will pin also. Okay, so you want to be very careful when you are doing this so that all the points will be neatly tucked in. Can you see what it's looking like on this side, on the reverse side, which is the lining side here? And see how neat it is. I'll need to pin this part also. You know we have boning, so it's already structured. So it's not going to be easy to bend it. So you just have to do this carefully so that you can pin all the points and make sure that everything is neatly stitched. Okay, so I haven't pinned all the points now. So I'm going to stitch from this side now that I'm seeing. And you see I'm separating the main fabric from it, and then I'll go ahead and start stitching. With this method, it will be very easy for you to join your cup to the corset. Corset to it. This is what I have. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to flip over the main fabric to cover up the cup like this. So before doing that, we'll need to tuck in this 1/2 inch sewing allowance. You see? So the 1/2 inch I used to stitch the cup and the corset together. I'm also going to make sure to tuck in the 1/2 inch. So I'll just fold it in like this. And then I'll secure with my pin. You see? So I'll pin it down. At this side, I'll go ahead, I'll do the same thing on this other side before I go ahead and do the other sides. It's always better to start with these two sides so that you have them sitting really well. So here, I've also secured with my pin. And then I'll go ahead and stretch out the other sides. You see how I'm stretching out the cup. I'm folding my 1/2 inch sewing allowance in. So here, I'll pin, fold in my 1/2 inch sewing allowance, and then secure with my pin. I want to just do this carefully because this will determine how neat the cup will be. So I will also fold in the sewing allowance here, and then I will go ahead and secure with the pin. You can see I'm stretching it out very well because you need to stretch it out so that you don't have any excess around here. You see? So you want to make sure to pull it very well. You need to do this part with energy. The points pinned down. You see what the cup is looking like. It's really coming out well. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'll need to top stitch it. So, and top stitching it this way will be really difficult. You know that we have bonings in it, okay? We have caged the bust. So now to make it easy, I'm now going to push it in like this. Can you see? And then I'm going to top stitch it all the way. So you can see because I have my pins already secured here. So it will just be easy for me to sew it gently, okay? So I'll do that. Okay, so after stitching it, can you see this is what I have. You see how nice and neat it's sitting, well top stitched, and this is what it looks like on the reverse side. And see how beautiful it's looking. It's coming out really well. So I'm going to repeat the same thing on the other side, just like I've done for this, and then I'll show us the next thing to do. So this is what the cups looks like. Can you see? For these cups, I had to reduce the depth of the neckline around this part. I came down with 1.5 inches. This is because I realized that it was too high. My client said she wants her neckline high, but it was really too high. It wasn't giving me what I wanted. So I had to just come down by 1.5 inches. So which means I had to lose it and then reduce the neckline. And this is the result I have. I am more comfortable with it and it came out beautiful. Yes, she actually said she wants it high, but it was just too high so that it doesn't give us something else. A corset should have this, it should just come out well so that the bust sits well in it. You don't want it to be too high around the center. So with what I have here, this is really beautiful. I love the outcome already as compared to what I had before. It was high with about 1.5 inches, which is around here. So which was just too high, okay? So this is it. So I didn't change the cup. I didn't, all I did was just to reduce it by 1.5 inches so that the neckline comes out better. So with that being said, so the next thing we're going to do now is to place the front yoke. So this is our front yoke. I cut two pieces like I earlier showed us, and I turned it at the neckline, that's at this part. I turned it using my half inch and I trimmed out the excess. Of course, after trimming it out, I went ahead to iron it. Okay, so I'm going to place the yoke like this. So here is the yoke. So you want to make sure that it aligns here at the armhole. This is how it's supposed to be at the armhole here. So this is it, and the armhole. Remember, we have already stitched the corset with my sewing allowance. So I'm going to place it in a way that the sewing allowance will be here. Can you see? So this is the point. I'll bring in my chalk and mark it. So this is our sewing allowance. This is the part that we're supposed to stitch inside. Can you see? So I'm going to place the yoke like this now. You see? I'll place it this way. Right side of the yoke facing right side of the corset like this. And then I'm going to secure with my pin. So I'll just pin it down like this. You see? So after pinning it, this is what I want to have when we are done stitching. You see? So this is what we're going to have sitting over the cup like this. So I'm going to run a stitch here at the center. That's at this point. I'll make sure that I'm running the stitch in a way that it will be on the side seam line. That's at this point. You don't want to do it away from there. I'll do it and then trim out the excess. So you can see this is what we have after trimming out our excess. So I'm going to repeat the same thing on the other side with the other yoke, and then I'll show us the next thing to do. So after stitching both sides, now this is what I have. Let's place it this way. Can you see? And this is what we have. So I'm going to create tiny pleats around here. Remember that we have our darts on the, we have the waist darts on the yoke. So I'm just going to create like small pleats around here just to give it that draped effect. Can you see? So I'll do that. I'll be using the dart line. I know that I joined this together. All I need to do now is just to get the midpoint. I'll place my fabric like this and get the center front. And this is it here. So now that we have the center front, I'll place one side of the yoke like this. So now this is the excess I have. So I'm going to create tiny pleats. You see? I'll plait it like this. Just, I'm going to make it really small, just one here. And then one here like this. You see? So you can see this is what it's giving us here. And then I'm going to create another one here also. Can you see? So this is what we have. So I'll repeat the same thing on this side. So I'll make them meet each other here at the center. And then I'm also going to create pleats. Now for this one, I created backwards. I'll also be doing it backwards here on this side. It's okay. You see what we have? So I'm going to run a stitch on the waistline here. So you can see our yoke is sitting nicely and it's coming out really beautiful. So I'll go ahead and join the shoulder of the front and back together. So now this is it. Because can you see that this yoke is still stretching? So I'm going to reduce it here at the shoulder. This is so that it doesn't gape. He needs to, can you see what is happening? Can you see how much it is stretching? So I'll place it like this. That's the back and the front now together. This is so that I get the actual armhole. You don't want to have any excess. I don't want to have any excess. Okay. So you want to make sure to do this so that you don't have any excess because this is net and it is stretchy. So now by the time I fold it this way, can you see? So I can now see the difference between the front yoke and the back yoke. You can see that this is about, it is really plenty. This is about 1.5 inches. So meaning it will gape. This is because it is slanted. So I'm going to trim out the excess here. You see? So now you can see that they are matching up. You see the front and back are matching up. So I will do the same thing for the other side. But for this side, instead of using the back now, just place the front on it because they are equal. The front, two fronts are equal or they were equal. So all I need to do is just to trim out exactly the same thing so that I don't have one longer than the other. So can you see? See the excess also. So I'm going to just trim it out. This outfit is quite it's quite technical. So you have to be careful. You have to be checking everything so that you don't finish and then have any shortage or excess anywhere. Okay, so here we are. So the next thing I'll be doing is to place the eyelet panel. You can see I've cut out my fabric. I cut 2 inches on fold. I folded half inch on this side, half inch on this side. And you can see I've stitched my bonings to one side and I left the space. This space I have here is half inch and this is where the eyelets will sit. I did the same thing on this side. So now I'm going to show us how to place it at the back here. So the part with the boning is going to be on the wrong side. Now this is it. So I'm going to place it this way, just a little bit, because this will stop exactly at this point before that it will stop before the net I have here. Can you see? So I'll place it, pin it this way. Can you see? So this is what I have here. I'm going to run a stitch here. So after running the stitch, I'm going to stitch the eyelet panel on the upper part and turn it inside out and use my pin to secure it just as you can see. So you can see I'm pinning it now on the right side. And then I'll go ahead and make a top stitch at this point while carefully taking off my pins gently. You see, I've top stitched it now on the right side. So the next thing I'm going to do is to run a stitch to hold down just on the bonings. Now I can actually feel my bonings. I'm just going to run a stitch there. I'll also leave a space of half inch, like I left a space of half inch on the other side of the eyelet panel, and then I will run a stitch there. So this is just top stitching on the right side of the eyelet panels, and this is what we have. You don't want to just leave it that way. This is the right side now. So this is what it looks like on the right side, and the reverse side is just the way I have already showed it. So I'm going to repeat the same thing on the other side, and then I'll show us the next thing to do. I have after top stitching both sides. So now I'm going to insert my plastic boning into this part I stitched now. I'm doing double boning technique. This is so that it gives it strength. Can you see? So this is my plastic boning is not supposed to get to the end here. I need my sewing allowance of half inch that I'll be using to join the skirt. So what I need to just do is to get the point here. Can you see this is where it ends? So I'm going to bring it out and cut out 3/4 of an inch. This is about 3/4 of an inch. I can eyeball it. I'm not cutting out exactly half inch. I'm cutting out 3/4 of an inch. This is so that it doesn't get close to where I'll be stitching, so that my machine does not have to climb on top of. That's so that it's not high. That's just basically what I'm trying to say. Okay, so I haven't cut it out. I'll use the boning to push it in, because you can see, so you can see that here is a bit flat. So the main plastic boning is at this side. So if you want to, this part is optional to insert into this other part, but the thickness I have here, because of the brocade fabric that is here, it's already enough. So I just need to stabilize this. You can see that putting just on this one is not is making it look balanced. Can you see? The same thing was done here. I just inserted into one, and this is it. So it's looking balanced because the brocade is already here. Okay, so I've gone ahead to sew the skirt part to the upper bodice, and this is what we have. This is the reverse side. So you can see I fixed the zipper already. I fixed the zipper to the main fabric, that's to the brocade, and I used the lining to turn it. You can see I used the lining to turn the waistline. I did in seam sewing for it, and this is what we have here. So I stitched fabric to fabric, lining to lining, just like I did for the upper bodice, and this is what it looks like. Can you see? This is really neat. I left a space here where I turned it out from. So this space I have here, all I need to do is to use hemming gum to just seal it up, or I'll top stitch it. Just stitch very close to the tip. So but hemming gum will make it really beautiful, so that you don't know where you closed or you brought out your outfit from. And then I also went ahead to fix the sleeve. It's a funnel sleeve. If you don't know how to draft a funnel sleeve, I have a video on how to do that. It's on my channel, so I'll be dropping the link in the description box. So for this corset, I have a modesty panel. This modesty panel is a detachable one. So all we need to do is to just place it at the back like this. And you see, so you can see it has two eyelet holes. I will be passing the rope through it before I pass it into the eyelet holes we have here at the back of the corset. So I'm going to wear this on the mannequin so that we can see what we have. Okay, so this is the final outcome of our inbuilt corset gown. Can you see how beautiful it's sitting? The front yoke is sitting so pretty, the cups, everything about this gown, the sleeves, the skirt, the drape, even the back is not left out. Everything came out so beautiful. I enjoyed making this outfit. I hope you enjoyed watching this video and you learned something from this video. If you did, please make sure to click on the like button. Make sure to like this video. If you like this video, it will help the algorithm know that people like this video and they are going to push it out more. Also, make sure to leave a comment, share this video. By sharing this video, other people will get to watch this video and also learn how to make this outfit. And please do not hesitate to click on the subscribe button to subscribe, and ensure you put on your notification bell so you get a notification every time I upload a new video. And for the records, by subscribing to my channel is your way of supporting my channel and saying thank you to me, so that I can have more energy and ginger to make more videos. Thank you so much. See you in my next one. Stay safe. Bye.